So I've finally gotten around to setting up the Firestore security rules for my little Flutter family finance app. Here's the rules if you're curious. Now I could probably get away with shipping the app without creating proper security rules, given that it's a small app and it's unlikely to be targeted by anybody. But I like to do things right, and it's only appropriate given my background, 7 years as lead developer for a security software company. Anyway, the requirements for my little family finance app are as follows. Only parents can add charges and credits to a family member's ledger. Only parents can invite new family members to a family. Only parents can edit existing family members. And anyone can create a family, but only parents can edit existing families. Now, these seem like pretty straightforward rules, but they were somewhat challenging for me to translate into Firestore security rules for a number of reasons. One, I wasn't familiar with the syntax, so I had to learn as I went, which is not a bad way to learn, I might add. And secondly, they were kind of challenging to debug in that it was hard to tell if a problem with your rule was a typo or if it was an actual logic error. I know this can be made easier by installing an emulator or something, but I decided to sidestep that whole part of it. And lastly, it was challenging due to the nature of modeling a many-to-many relationship in a document-oriented database. Now, setting up the data structure is somewhat challenging in and of itself, but it's not that much unlike its relational counterpart, which is what I'm familiar with, in that it's nothing a few junction tables won't solve. Setting up the security rules for the many-to-many relationship, however, was a whole nother can of worms. Now, remember I said one of the requirements is that only parents can add new members to a family, yet anyone can create a family. Well, these requirements turned out to be in conflict with one another, because creating a family is actually a multi-part operation where the currently authenticated user first creates a families document and then immediately adds himself as a family member. This turned out to be problematic because remember I said only parents are allowed to add people to a family. So how can you add yourself to a family for which there's no members? It's a classic chicken and egg problem. Anyway, it turned out to be solvable using security rules with some time and some thought and repeated testing. And I think I got it to a place that I'm happy with it, and I don't think there's any flaws. But something to always keep in mind, as with anything security related, the absence of a known exploit doesn't necessarily imply the absence of a possible exploit, one the creator hasn't thought of. So anyone who's serious about security has an endless pool of paranoia to draw from. Fortunately for me, however, the stakes are pretty low for my little family finance app, but that's no excuse for bad security.